one thing I could have asked them, probably I'll just ask you, wouldn't you have loved to have those three have the luxury of players coming in like you have this year? And is it going to help the newcomers to maybe not have so much expected of them first?
I think so. I think when you talk to our freshmen, you can sense that already. The overwhelming factor of being a freshman at this level, anytime you can ease that in any shape, form, or fashion, it's a good thing. And the three you had up here, along with, Mac and Sam and 3 or 4 others you could have had, have just they've been an invaluable resource to those kids. When I check in with the newcomers on a daily basis, their responses are way different than this year than we've had in the past. There's still some moments of overwhelmingness, but not nearly. And a lot of that, it's a willingness. Sometimes upperclassmen like there to be a little bit of a suffrage period. They like there to be some suffering for freshmen. But I think this particular group, that probably was a few days instead of a few weeks or months or whatever. So it's a really good group and I give the kids that are coming in a lot of credit too, because they've had a really good attitude about it. Like, they've accepted the freshman moments and then responded appropriately when given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then too with Sasha, Sasha's got such a fresh outlook on things. And it's just, when I think things are starting to get a little bit hard, she'll say something or do something that puts you back into place, and the reminder that, okay, this maybe isn't as big a deal as I'm making it out to be. She's been really good for me. I hope I've been equally as good for her, but she has been a really good I just can't call her a newcomer. We have returner, or I don't know what the appropriate term would be for her.
Her and Saylor talked a lot about just the competition there every day in practice, how difficult that's been on each of them. But top to bottom, it seems like there's been some really good in-practice competition. Will you speak on kind of that and how a lot of players match up well with each other?
Yeah, we're 10 deep. There is not, when we go 1 through 10 and we go 5-on-5 in the past, I think the coaches and people have been at practice could go, oh, that team's getting ready to beat that team. You can't do that right now. There's not a common denominator. You look at the team and you go, that's pretty evenly matched up. And if it was Saylor and Sasha sitting here talking to each other about it, they've been having to guard each other almost every day. I'm not sure they've been on the same team yet. Did they mention that? Because they did. Yeah. They may not have been. And again, you're talking about 2 kids who have been, not in our practices, but in the SEC, have been dominating defensively against certain opponents. So to see them go to head to head, it's fun as a coach. Grant's been at our break. It's been fun to watch, I think. You have Keats, Talia going against Sam and Mac some days. So you have 2 kids who haven't played an SEC game yet against Mac, who's won more SEC games than anybody in the history of the Razorbacks in our uniform. And Sam, who's played every game since she's been here. And some days the younger ones get, depending on who else their teammates are, they'll win the game. We have not had that. We'll find out in the next 3 days whether it's how good we are or aren't, but we are close. Like, the closeness between 1 and 10, I know I could ask our staff, the people that have been there every day, and I would imagine Grant's list has changed on a daily basis too. I think the 10 have probably been pretty consistent, but who's, in those different slots, it's been somebody different every day.
Kind of now on the last stretch of these practices leading up to leaving, just kind of what's been maybe the biggest development you've seen from day 1 to now? They
retained a lot of stuff. Like, we threw everything at them in 7 days. Not very deep, but really wide. Inbounds plays, sidelines plays, offense, defense, how we're going to guard things. And I was really surprised how well they retained it. Like, and this is by far the closest to, like, I've never been really big on boot camps or like start the year out, things. But this has been the closest we've had to that. It's been straight through. We've had something every day. Even our off day on Sunday, they were, packing at home and doing stuff. But it's the longest we've been on the floor. It's the longest we've been together. It's the most meals we've eaten together. So I think when you wrap it all up, this is kind of a wrap up. Now it's give them their legs back. Even our kids who are probably in the best condition that we have, their legs are starting to come back to them yesterday. They'll get a little bit more of it today and certainly tomorrow. I did not want us to board a 10-hour flight grumpy and sore and all that. So we got after them pretty good, and we've kind of been maybe more toward the recovery, and let's depart happy and ready to go. And then the next 11 days we'll kind of go through the rigors of travel, but also knowing that we're going to some pretty special places. So we've started kind of peeling back and a little bit more talking and a little less competition.
Coach.
What do you know about the makeup of these teams you're playing?
Only one of them. I know a little bit about the university from Regina in Canada. They're a Canadian team. They're very good. I'd like them in our terminology like a D2. They're competitive. They play Division I's all the time. And they're going over there for the experience to play 3 D1s. They'll play 3 of the. I know of at least 20 other teams that are over there. I don't know who everybody is playing. But they'll be the only ones I'll know anything about prior to tip-off.
Coach, I liked something that Saylor said, and then Sasha kind of backed her up on, or sorry, not Sasha. It was Jersey who backed her up on. Saylor, Sasha, Jersey. Yeah. They kind of talked about, when I asked them about what you said about last year being so tough.
Yep.
And Saylor kind of said there's like this renewed energy. They go into the locker room, they're just excited to get out on the court. It's not like, oh my gosh, we have to go to practice. Like, oh, it's just a different kind of energy. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you've seen that maybe over the summer?
It's all we talked about. I just felt like our environment got so. I'm going to stop short of using the word toxic because it wasn't toxic. There wasn't anybody dying. It was hard. I beat myself up. I beat everybody up a little bit on how we allowed it to get where it got. And then I just found out from talking to other coaches this year at the Final Four, every program in the country was kind of in the same boat. I think just the newness of the NIL happening. We didn't have major issues, but it was things. And then transfer portal was so talked about. We were still, 18 to 21 months, depending on when everybody thinks COVID was over or if it's over. We were all in the same boat, so it did get tough. And I think we've been very, very intentional about how we've gone about doing things differently. It's nothing big. Like, I don't think it's anything anybody could really probably, if you ask 20 people, you might get 20 different things. But I do think there's a different approach to it, and we're aware of our environment, and we're correcting daily. If something went wrong yesterday, we correct it that day. I mean, if something goes wrong today, we correct it then and there. We don't sleep on it. We don't let it come back and fester. We recorrect the course right when it happens. And I think that's when she talks about the refreshing way that is, it's kind of the old pawpaw neighbors. You don't go to bed mad. I don't think we're going to bed frustrated or having a question. A lot of kids come up to me at practice, after practice. I've made it a point. I have it on my practice schedule. There's a place for me to mark 3 times a day. I want to talk to each one of these players about something non-basketball. And I'm holding myself accountable to that 3 times per practice. Hey, I know you're a late last-minute packer. Are you packed? Hey, you've had a tendency to forget your ID when we're going to Auburn and Alabama. They're not going to let us on the plane in Greece come home if you don't have your passport. So whatever I need to talk to them, non-basketball related, that's intentional. It's just little things like that, I think, that have added up to a better environment, a better feeling. And we're going to try to keep that going as long as we can. I know there's tough times and hard things that a season brings up that will become more challenging. I mean, let's be honest too. I mean, if you can't look forward to going to Greece and Croatia for 14 days, then you probably need to check your own attitude a little bit.
I want to know who forgets their ID. That sounds like a good example right there. That's a real example.
Yeah, I'll never throw anybody under the bus when it comes to that. But y'all probably could have your guesses, and you'd probably be in the top 3. But
those 3 players that we just had before talked about implementing the press more into your system this year. They said there's some growing pains there, but they're doing well with it. Like, can you give us an update on how that's been going?
Yeah, I actually took Grant's advice. I showed him some clips from Coach Richardson's 40 minutes of hell, and I don't know that we'll ever, like right now we're going for 7 minutes of hell. We're trying to build it up. We're not anywhere near 40 minutes yet, but I think first of all, we have to change our habits, because we talked for 3.5, 4 years about sprinting back and getting your defense set and not letting them score in transition to match up real quick. And that, when your body's used to doing something for 5 straight years, in Mac's case, like there's going to be moments, we know that. So there will be some moments it probably doesn't look so good right now, and that's fine. But I think that little twist, it's been fun to remind themselves to get up and use your energy defensively, try to shrink the shot clock. Part of it is specific for over there because the shot clock's 24 seconds, but that'll carry over to our season. And I'm going to keep I'm talk to Matt Zimmerman to see if he's got any old practice film, because I figure if anybody's got it, it's Zim. Is there any old practice film of the days of Coach Richardson rolling out and them jumping in it? I was at practice. We didn't have cell phone cameras, or I'm sure Coach Richardson probably wouldn't have allowed them. I'm just guessing. I don't know whether you think he would have had cell phones allowed at his practices or not, but we're going to keep drawing on that, on those, and then make it our own. I mean, we're not ever going to be able to do what they did and simulate it, because he was maybe the best ever at it, but we'll make it our own throughout the year, and it'll keep being something we, as a work in progress. I've had some coaching friends from our league already, following us, getting ready for the trip, saying, now you're going to press. Now we got to work on that too for y'all when we play you. So it's been fun. And with our added depth, I think it's something that can not just be fun, not just to be different. I think it's something tactically that could be another thing for us that, we don't have lack of size. We have some height. But there are teams in our league that have size and height. So this might be another little weapon for us when it comes game time.
I know you've spoken a lot about how it ate you alive, just kind of doing the autopsy of last season, how close you were in a lot of games. I think the term Sailor used was gut-wrenching whenever she was looking back. How much has that been a discussion of just detail to each possession?
It's going to keep coming up, I think, until the start of the season, and then we're going to have to let it go. But, we've been, again, intentional. I brought them, but we started the year right where we finished the year when we found out we didn't go. I've slipped some clips in there of some of those moments that may have kept us out of the NCAA tournament in film sessions. I'm going to keep reminding them up till the beginning of the year, and then I'll drop it. But, if the pain doesn't change you, it really wasn't worth going through. And then I think, too, talking about just like I pointed up at the banner the other day that we could have had 4 in a row. You can't get that opportunity back, but we get a chance to start another string, And, Mac always chimes in, well, I'll get a chance to go to 4. We're all like, yeah, Mac, well, not in a row, Mac. We have to bring Mac back to this, when she wants to. But I think it's important you do kind of know where you've been till you know where you want to go, but I will drop it at the beginning. Whenever we start practice for in October, I'll probably we call them amnesty days. That'll be our amnesty day. Last chance to talk about what happened in the past. Now we got to really focus on every single day. But it did hurt. It was gut wrenching. I'll be on the road recruiting and I'll see a team that I know we had on the ropes. And then I just look at them different. I know I shouldn't, but I do. We could have had them, and that win would have been the difference. It doesn't help that Dorita, y'all know Dorita is now in the chair of the NCAA committee. So I talked to her a lot, and she was like, she will just be reminding me. She goes, "You remember how close y'all were, right?" I said, "Yeah, Drita, I got it." She goes, "Well, it was real close." I said, "Yeah, Drita, I got it." We were really, really close. And it does sting, and it does hit you in the gut, and I think everybody will have a different term for it, but I think it's healthy to remember that, how it did feel, so you do your best to not feel that way again, regret something. If you do your best and you don't, but I think we have some regrets. I think we all could look back on the autopsy and find a lot of things we could have done better. So what we've said, and we're not going to autopsy at the end of the year, we're autopsying every day, after weights, so when we travel, hey, how do we travel? How was that? Were you nice to the stewardess? Did you thank them when they brought you something? Did you give up your seat so a family could sit together? We're talking about travel behaviors. We'll start talking about those today, because our kids haven't flown commercial. I was trying to think the last time we flew commercial as a unit. We're kind of in our own little bubble when we travel, but so now we're going to be courteous of other flyers, courteous of, flight attendants, pilots, other travelers, families, how you act in a terminal, TSA. That's another, I always tell our kids, I can help you with almost everybody that's name isn't letters. I can't help you with the FBI, the Fayetteville PD, the NCAA, but I can't help you with TSA either. Be nice to those and follow their rules so that you are able to get on that airplane.